Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Game It Out. It's New Year's Eve! Since it's the last day of 2018, I thought it'd be fun to look back at the year of games and talk about some of my favorites. Now a quick disclaimer, this is not a definitive list and there are tons of games I missed out on in 2018. I'm hoping to get around to them, but obviously since I didn't play them, they're not going to be on this list. And really, I had to put everything in some kind of order, but everything on this list is worth playing, except for one game, but you'll figure that out real quick. The Quiet Man. You might be thinking to yourself, why Josh, why is The Quiet Man on this list? This game sucked. This game didn't suck. This game was beyond sucking. You can be a crappy game and be on Steam. They get released every day. It transcends those things. Those are for mere mortals. The Quiet Man has the distinct honor of being possibly one of the worst games I've ever played. That is a special pedigree that I feel like you really have to earn. It took an interesting idea and completely screwed it up. It also didn't have a small production. It had cinematics, it had actors, it had lighting, it had a story that they thought was worth telling. It was published by Square Enix. It was developed by Human Head. Human Head, in my opinion, is not a nobody studio, and the game was $15 on Steam. But one thing that The Quiet Man did is pretty much miss every single mark possible. They tried to give you an interesting story by way of having a deaf protagonist. That could have been really cool, but then their mechanism for using it was to mute all the sound in the game, except for muffled punches. I can almost forgive that because you have a cinematic world and you could totally make that work. Or you could just film normal scenes and make it feel like we muted the TV and can't find the fucking remote. And I could almost even forgive that if the brawling part of the game was any good, but it sucks, like a lot. So then you have to lean back onto the cinematics, where you can't hear shit, and at a point, you just stop trying, because nothing makes sense. Dane, the deaf protagonist, you can see him understanding other people if he's looking at them. Surely we should get subtitles for that, right? But here's the kicker. Once you beat the game, it unlocks a new mode, where you get to play the game again, except now they've unlocked all the sound, and this is that moment where maybe it's gonna get really cool, where you can see one story one way where you made all your own conclusions because you couldn't hear anything, so you just had to make a bunch of shit up. But then they unlock the sound and you get to see what's really going on. You get to understand what The Quiet Man was really all about. Spoiler, it sucked worse than your imagination could. The reason I put The Quiet Man on this list is not because you should play it. You really shouldn't. But this game is just one of those games that you just do not see very often. So The Quiet Man makes the list because it is easily the most shockingly disappointing, awful game I've played in not just 2018, but for many years. First Winter and the Enigma Machine. I'm grouping First Winter and the Enigma Machine together because they're really different, but also kind of remind me of each other, and I enjoyed them both equally. Visually, they each have their own take on a retro theme. First Winter reminds me a lot of what full-motion video cutscenes looked like in the 1990s. The Enigma Machine looks like a PlayStation 1 game after it's been recorded to a VHS tape and played back, and I think this visual style works for both games. Both games' subject matters are cerebral and address mature topics such as nukes in the Cold War or how to cope with an AI. These games also had perfect scope for what they wanted to achieve out of their game. Environments and set pieces felt interesting and deliberate, and ultimately each game felt like a very well-contained experience. Because these games weren't overly long or overly short, I didn't feel like they overstayed their welcome. And because of that, I feel like I'm really looking forward to the next game by each of these developers. Ultimately, I really enjoyed them both, and I just cannot wait to see what these developers come up with next. Into the Breach. Into the Breach is the latest game by Subset Games, who themselves have hit critical acclaim with their last game, FTL Faster Than Light. People loved that game for its procedurally generated galaxies, intense ship management, permadeath, all of which led up to infinite replayability. Into the Breach does the same, but it takes you out of the spaceship and onto the ground. What you get is a series of bite-sized turn-based battles with a rule set that makes every single move you make matter. The amount of foresight you have to develop to perfect these battles is immense, and when you start to figure out how this game works, it is hugely satisfying. You'll also likely run up against a lot of failure as you lose battles, and story-wise, you can hit the reset button and send one of your troops back in time to try again, sending them back to an alternative past with new randomized battles to fight. For me, this allowed a lot of learning moments, a deeper appreciation for the game, and the excitement of trying new stuff in each battle to see if it would work better. It feels like chess. Chess with, mechs and aliens and different kinds of terrain and time travel. So, just like regular chess. Iconoclast. Iconoclast is another one we played on the show, and I just loved it from beginning to end. First of all, it has vibrant, beautiful graphics. I really do feel like 2D stuff like this has a way of aging beautifully, and I think it's gonna look great today, and it's gonna look great 20 years from now. It also has a diverse cast of characters, all with their own personalities, and they feel relatively well thought out, each and every one of them. There are tons of bosses in this game, many of which feel very, very different. A lot of of places to explore. There's a whole religion in the game, and it feels pretty well thought out. And at no point did I feel lost or bored, which is really nice. And the longer I played, I truly did feel myself more invested with these characters. It's a good versus evil story where it almost feels like good can't win. So it becomes really exciting to just see how it plays out. It's one of those games too where once you've completed the experience, you still think about these characters and you think about this story and you think about this universe and you think about where else this could go. It's also made by one dude, which is ultra impressive. The music is also great, and as mentioned, the visuals are fantastic. Overall, this is just a classy game. Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't actually gotten that far in Red Dead Redemption 2. Like many people, I'm sure I've spent most of my time dicking around. And the number one thing I try to do in Rockstar games is very simple. I try to find a way to kill people in a game without the game registering it as a kill. So as an example, in Red Dead 1, you could achieve this by pushing people into water. In Red Dead 1, no one can swim. If you touch water, you instantly die. But so does everybody else. So all you really need to do is push people into water and they just die. But the world doesn't react to that. They just die and no one seems to care. That's really what I was looking for in Red Dead 2, and you know what? I found it. So what is that thing in Red Dead 2 that is like the pushing people into water thing in Red Dead 1? Thankfully, it's still water related. You can't just push people in because swimming exists now. And you can't hog tie people because if you hog tie them and then put them in water, the game realizes what you're doing and it reflects badly on you. And you know, we're trying to avoid any of that. We want the world to be like, yeah, that's fine. It's not your fault. It's no one's fault. So what I realized is if you lasso someone and then just drag them into a lake or something and then just leave them there, eventually they just kind of drown on their own. Everyone's happy except for that guy and that guy and that guy and him. Well, you get the idea though. So really the joy that Red Dead has brought me so far is just strap on your executioner's hood and just go be the master of the river. Besides that, it's Red Dead 1 except pretty much better in every way. Survive.io. Yeah, I realize this looks like a shitty Flash game, but hear me out on this. I have mixed feelings about the Battle Royale genre. The biggest one being it just totally doesn't respect your time. You gotta fire up the game, you gotta load in all 100 people, you gotta drop into the game world, you have to find the right guns, finally you get to engage in combat, and then when you die, what happens? You have to start that shit all over again. In Survive over here, all you have to do, open it up in a browser, put in your name, hit go. Boom, you're in the world. Go find you some guns and go fuck some people up. Games that Survive last about 6 minutes. By that point, the circle has covered the whole map. So either you have won within 6 minutes and you can start another game, or you lose and now you're back at the menu and you hit play again and suddenly you're in another game. And that's really why I love Survive, because I can just, in the middle of the day even, I could just fire it up for a couple of rounds, enjoy myself, and then go back to the finer things in life. The Messenger. To me, it is a no-brainer that The Messenger tops this list. Easily my favorite game of 2018. To me, it represents the perfect 2D platformer. First of all, the game looks great. It's got the two generations, it's got the 8-bit and the 16-bit. It has an awesome soundtrack in both. This is definitely a game where I find myself listening to the soundtrack when I'm not playing this game. It's got fun humor, awesome gadgets. It has amazing traversal in the game. The grappling hook is perfect. The mechanic where you can jump again if you hit something is just fan-fucking-tastic. It creates this acrobatic world where not only do you get that mechanic, but you can also climb up walls, you can use your grappling hook, you can use your wingsuit. All of these things just lead to this amazing experience where you can just acrobatically bound around the level. This game is full of twists too. The first half of this game is just this linear experience, and then, spoiler warning, it opens up into this other experience where suddenly now it's more like a Metroidvania and you can just go all kinds of places and learn all kinds of stuff. I've never had so much fun backtracking in a game, and also it seems to respect your time. You can open up the map and you can fairly easily figure out where the hell you need to go next. This game had me from beginning to end. It's one of those games that I hope everyone eventually gets a chance to play. So that's gonna about do it for me over here in 2018 land. I'd love to hear what games you played this year that you thought were really great. I'm sure I missed a ton of them. So this is Josh from Let's Game It Out signing off for 2018. Have a happy new year, and I will see you in 2019.